Greetings, my guzzlers. Just having a wee dram because today, not the day you watch this, but the day I'm cooking is World Whisky Day. And actually, it celebrates all forms of whisky. So you can have your Scottish version, as in W-H-I-S-K-Y, or your W-H-I-S-K-E-Y, the Irish way, and probably the way the Americans do it. And actually, this is an American one. It's a bourbon, a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, Buffalo Trace. Never had this before. It was cheap, but it tastes great. But I'm just going to put this to one side. Oh, actually, you can look after that for me up there. Okay? Don't drink it, you little bastard. I think we'll start on some wine. We'll have that towards the end. Because what we're going to make is a biryani. A baked biryani, chicken and rice. And this is a nice, heart, healthy, friendly, low calorie, if you like, low Weight Watcher point version. So, you want something like a casserole dish or a Dutch oven. My Dutch oven, I think, has buggered off back to Holland because I cannot find it anywhere. So I'm going to use this here. Okay, but it needs to have a lid, or you can seal it with foil, and it'll need to go in the oven. So my oven's just gone on, preheated, 170 fan. So that's what we're doing tonight. You're going to want 115 grams of brown basmati rice, so that's measured out. You're going to want some chestnut mushrooms. Now these have come out huge. We've switched supplier. We've got no longer shopping at Tesco's. Dirty robbing bastards. That's a different story, but we won't go there. So these are Sainsbury's, and these chestnut mushrooms are massive. So you want about 115 grams of them, slightly more than that, mainly because of the size of them. You want one decent sized onion. I've got two sort of small to medium ones. Okay. You want some garlic. Chicken thighs is what we're cooking. Chicken thighs, full of flavour, full of moisture. You can use chicken breast. The only trouble with chicken breast, it does tend to dry out a bit. And it can be, you know, not quite as nice and moist at the end, and full of so much flavour as the what's names, the thighs. But like I say, you can use breast if you want. 2 thighs per person. Okay. Optional green chilli. Okay, if you don't like your chilli, you don't have to have that. We're going to want some garlic. A few cloves of garlic, a few cloves of garlic. You want a can, 400 grams of green lentils. I've drained them and rinsed them. They're sitting in that bowl. Oh, excuse me. You're going to want some coriander, fresh coriander. Now, what we're doing with our mushrooms, we're just going to slice these up. Okay, I'm just going to shove them in this bowl just because of the amount that I've got here. And then herb wise, or spice wise should I say, some garam masala, homemade version, some turmeric, bought it in bulk now. You're going to want a bit of oil to cook it in, and I think that's everything. Oh, and some stock, about 400 grams of stock. I've got a little bit more because actually I've just finished off the pack of rice and a little bit more rice. So our onion, we just want to thinly slice that. Okay. You don't need to dice it or anything like that. Our garlic, at least a couple of cloves of garlic, and we're just going to crush them up as and when we're ready to use them. Now I was telling you, it's World Whisky Day. Come here. So today is the 3rd Saturday of May, And World Whisky Day is celebrated on the 3rd Saturday of each May. Now, it was set up actually not that long ago. Well, you know, the World Whisky Day, not necessarily whiskey. I can tell you about that in a minute. By a guy at uni, a student, Blair Bowman. And in 2012, he thought, I think he was in Aberdeen. I can't remember. I think he might have been Aberdeen Uni or something like that. And he'd said, we should bring together the peoples of the world to celebrate and cherish this wonderful liquid, and of course make sure that people not only enjoy it, but they enjoy it responsibly. Okay, and so it then became an annual event, and it was like, well, let's celebrate this every year. So like I say, third Saturday of every month, World Whisky Day. Right, so just gonna peel me garlic, but I'll crush them later. You could just chop them up fine if you like. And then this is a rather large green chilli. I'm going to use just over half of that, and I'm just going to chop that up finely, and then switch to the red wine. I told you, I think we'll drink the whiskey later. Better not start on that too soon. And then we'll start putting it all together. And like I say, your oven needs to be at 170. So that's all my prep done. Actually, what I didn't mention to you, by the way, is we will be adding some frozen vegetables. Now, I'm going to be adding some frozen peas, 115 grams again. A bit like bacon, isn't it? 115 butter, 115 sugar, 115. Anyway, you can use whatever frozen veg you like. Now, if you're doing it Weight Watcher style, you want about 3 or 4 sprays of cooking oil, olive oil or vegetable oil. And what we're going to do is start off by gently sautéing our onion. Where's that one? That one. That'll do. Now, while I'm just waiting for that oil to get hot. Oh, come here, you bit of onion fella. I better top my wine up, but also I'll tell you about whiskey. So, whiskey is a result of distillation. And the history of whiskey, goes back to a long time ago. However, when I say it goes back a long time ago, it actually started not as whiskey, it was just a distillation. And studies suggest that distillation was going on in Mesopotamia by the Babylonians in sort of 2nd millennium BC. So that was sort of distillation going on. Right, that looks like that's just getting up. So we're just going to put that onion in there. And like I say, what we want to do now is sort of gently saute that to soften the onion up. Again, we don't want to brown it, we just want to soften it. Okay. But then the distillation seemed to move to the Arabian world. But also, the first recorded distillations appear to actually be in Alexandria in Greece. Now, to be honest, I didn't realise there was an Alexandria in Greece. Whenever I think of Alexandria, I think of the port of Alexandria in Egypt. And that was certainly an ancient port, but apparently it was Alexandria in Greece during the 1st century AD. But again, this wasn't anything to do with whiskey, and in fact it still wasn't actually anything to do with alcohol. 9th century, like I say, the Arabian world. Then it became sort of medieval Europe in about the 12th century. But like I say, wasn't necessarily distilling alcohol, distilling things like essential oils from plants and seeds and things like that. The earliest documented records of actual alcohol distillation is the 13th century in Italy, and there they was distilling wine. Oh, I can tell you something. I don't know if I should do. Could get in trouble. Anyway, this is going to take about 7 to 8 minutes. I ain't going to talk to you for 7 8 minutes. I mean, I know I can do, but I'm just going to carry on cooking this until this is softened up, and then we'll come back and do a little bit more of the whiskey, but also what we do next. That is just about ready. So at this point, I'm going to add in the garam masala, the turmeric, 1 teaspoon, 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric. I can't speak, it's my denture, I'm blaming that. And 2 teaspoons of garam masala. You want that chilli, if you're putting that chilli in. If you're being a wuss and not putting it in, don't put it in. The garlic. So, like I say, you can just chop that finely if you want, or you can use the garlic press like I am. I tell you what, I love this OXO. Not a plug, bought it out my own money, but I have to say, this OXO garlic crusher is excellent. And really, because of that, I ended up getting some other garlic things, some other just put that in there for a minute, clean that out in a second. I bought some other OXO things. So I've got my OXO, what's names, my OXO jugs, got the big one, that little one. I bought an OXO grater, mini grater. Oh, I can't remember. Used to buy Joseph shit. I know it's quite raved about. Bought a Joseph whisk. I think if you go back quite a little way, you'll remember I had one and I moaned about it. It literally fell apart while you're trying to cook anything with it. Anyway, enough of the rant about that. Right, now we're going to add in their mushrooms. Now it's all very dry in there at the moment. But we're going to be adding that stock shortly. So I'm just going to sort of try and mix them through. In hindsight, perhaps given the size of these mushrooms, I might have wanted to cut them up a bit smaller, but it don't really matter. Okay, and then, like I said, 115 grams of rice. I'm just going to chuck that in there dry for now. Okay, and so I'm just, yeah, that's right, just go over the hub. So we're just going to mix that through. Okay, now we're going to leave that, sort of spread that out fairly evenly. Okay, and then I'm going to take the chicken thighs, get in there. Like I say, 2 per person. I think there might be slightly more than that in here. Okay, 1, get in there, 2, 3. It looks like there might be 6. Oh well, never mind. 4. Oh no, there's 5. 5 thighed chickens. So Tesco with their, well, let's put that little bit of meat in there. Tesco's with their 3-breasted chickens. Sainsbury's have 5 thighed chickens. I'm just going to wash my hands and then we're getting ready and it'll be going in the oven. Now, you want to take that stock and we're just pouring that stock over. I've said to you before, them stock pot things, they never really dissolve that well. And what we want to do now is just bring that to the boil, okay? And then you're going to want your lid, which I've had to keep over here. Got nowhere to put it. So I've still got my lentils. I've got my frozen veg in the freezer. I've got some coriander that goes in more or less right at the end. So what we're just going to do, we're just going to bring this up to the boil. As soon as it's up to the boil, actually I might just turn the temperature up, turn the heat off, and we're then going to bake it for 45 minutes. Okay, that's just coming up to the boil. Okay, so get rid of that, turn the heat off, put a lid on. Now, like I say, you could even with a lid, put a layer of foil in there to seal it in, because obviously we want to partly get that steam in to cook all that chicken through. So that's now going to go in that oven. I didn't check temperature, fraction low. And did I say 45 minutes earlier? Of course I didn't really, I said 40. So that's going in there for 40 minutes. And now we're just going to leave it. Now when we come back, we've got to put our lentils in, our frozen veg, and we'll just at that point chop up our coriander, which is starting to wilt, and it's not that warm in here. So coming back in 40 minutes, I do not want that disappearing. No, I know about evaporation, mate. That amount will not evaporate in 40 minutes. If that's not there, I know you've drunk it. Little bastard. Yes, I remember. Don't forget. Like and subscribe. Yes, it's pointing at you. Like you if you like, your little shit. So that's had the 40 minutes. So at this point, we're going to bring it out of the oven. Oh, I missed it up. Okay. And now, what we want to do now is add those lentils. Okay, in they go. And we also want to add in those frozen vegetables. In this case we're using peas. You can use whatever frozen vegetables you like. Oh, don't touch the fucking thing. Right, mate. I'm out of wine now. Whiskey time. Well done. Good boy. I was going to make it old fashioned, but I think tonight we might just leave that like that. Now, I'm just going to, obviously a little bit difficult with that chicken sitting there like that, but we're just going to stir that through. Okay. Now, I possibly went over a bit over the top there with the liquid, because idea normally with the biryani is all that liquid to get absorbed by the rice. Like I said, I use a little bit extra rice, but I possibly overestimated the stock I wanted for that extra rice, and so it's still a bit runny. Now, normally at this stage, what you would do is put the lid back on. Oh, put your glove on, you bunker, and it will cook covered. But because of the amount of liquid in there, I'm going to leave that uncovered. Okay, so that's now going to go back in the oven. And apart from the coriander, which I'm just going to chop up in a second, and we add that at the very end. Start the timer. Have a little swig of whiskey. Oh, I've cut the little things. We haven't got the whiskey yet. We've got to talk about distillation, haven't we? But we've got to talk about whiskey. But anyway, I'm just going to now have a little pause, move these gloves out of the way, and then I'll tell you the final bit while we prepare the coriander and some plates to serve this up onto. Right, so I've got me coriander, and I'm just going to chop that up. Okay. Yes, even that you can pretend you're going over there, you little shit. I'm going to put the stalks. There's a lot of flavour in the stalks. I did debate about chopping the stalks off actually, and putting them in that main bit. But in the end I thought we'd just leave it like this. So I think that will do. Now that is going to go in. Oh, I was watching the other day a video. Joshua somebody other, I can't remember his name now, chef, and he said proper chefs have 2 tea towels in addition to your normal towel, and he said you have one that's just a bit damp and you just do what I've just done with your knife. You wipe it with that, and then you have another one which essentially you use to dry it, and that cleans your knife. But that's like 2 extra tea towels. Anyway, that's chopped, that's ready to go, and we put that in when we're about to serve. But whiskey. Now, we said about the monks, not monks, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, you know. Italy, they were talking about where they were distilling wine, but monks were the ones who basically started distilling alcohol, and as a result it spread across Europe, but they were distilling it for medicinal purposes. Oh, medicinal purposes. Got to drink this, medicinal purposes. Oh, I feel so much better. I better have some more medicinal. But we, you know, we think of Scotch whiskey, and we think, you know, whiskey all originated in Scotland. It may well have done, but by the 15th century, whiskey was being made or distilled in Ireland and Scotland, and they used to call it aqua vita, the water of life. Well, it would be, because it makes you healthy. My health has just increased a bit more. However, ancient whiskey was far stronger than that. Oh, I better have plenty more of that then. It's going to make me healthy. And ancient whiskey was stronger to make you healthy. Excuse me. I was going to say that's the beer, but I haven't had any beer today, so I can't blame that. It must be the wine. Anyway, it was not only a lot stronger in alcohol, but it was a lot rougher than the whiskey's got today. Now, like I say, this was really cheap. To be honest, this was 19 quid. And I'm thinking, whoa, I bet that's going to be rough. I bought it mainly to make cocktails with. But actually, it's quite drinkable. Well, it's very drinkable. But ancient whiskey was a lot stronger and a lot like, I don't know if I want to drink that. So, the whiskey we know today, I'm going to tell you about in a minute. So, like I say, we've got about another 8 minutes left, and we'll be bringing that out, stirring through that coriander, and then we'll be ready to serve. And at which point, I'll tell you the final bits about the whiskey of today. Oh, I'm not feeling very well. I better have another one. Okay, that's the time up, so I'm just going to turn that oven off. Oh, excuse me. That weren't me, that were you. Dirty bastard. So, out that comes. Can't see a bleeding thing now, we'll miss it up. Careful. Now, that has. What shall I serve that up with? Let's do that one. That has at least now absorbed or evaporated some of that liquid. So at this point, just going to chuck in that coriander. Actually, where's my other? Just going to stir that through. Okay. And that is our baked biryani with chicken and rice and mushrooms and onion, ready to go. Now, there's still a bit of liquid in there, but it don't matter. When that chicken starting to break up, it's nice and cooked. Now, our whiskey 15th century, it was spreading across Ireland and Scotland. I think I told you that one, didn't I? Yeah, I did. But the first written mention of whiskey in Ireland was 1405, which is actually 90 years before it was mentioned in Scotland. That's not to say, not to say the Irish were first, but in terms of documented evidence, the Irish were first. I'm just going to get rid of that. So, like I say, it was mentioned in documents, and essentially the way it was mentioned, I thought I've got some chicken there, didn't I? So if you remember, I've got a 5-breasted chicken, so I want at least 2 per person. And the evidence was basically saying about an Irish chieftain who essentially one Christmas drunk too much whiskey. It was 90 years later, in 1495, where they started talking about how bits of chicken I've got in there. Oh. So that's 2 bits of chicken there. So what we're going to do with this last one, we're just going to divide that up, and we'll have half of that can go in one. Got to be fair, haven't we? Got to be fair. Yeah, so it was in Scotland, and it was mentioned 1495 that whiskey production was being done for the king. So, whoops, I'm making a bloody mess here. And let me just move that out of the way. Now, these are silicone handles, but as I said to you before, people go, ah, it's silicone handles, so why is it fucking red hot and burning my hands? Because you put them in the fucking oven. They don't transfer heat very quickly, but you put them in the bloody oven, they will get hot. If you left the oven, which is what I do sometimes, you take them off when you put it in the oven, and then you can put the cool ones on there, and you can bring it out, and they don't get hot. But if you put them in there, they will get fucking hot. You twat. Anyway, it wasn't really to the 1500s that whiskey suddenly became very popular, and it was notable that Scottish kings in particular were saying how much they enjoyed it. So there you go, that's about whiskey for National Whiskey Day. Let's get tasting our biryani. Ooh, plate's hot. This will go for a little bit of the rice and everything else that's with it. Oh, burning my hand underneath. Oh, it's hot. Plate, that is. Rice is cooked. Not really getting too much from the chilli. To be honest, I'm not really getting too much from the spices. Let's try the chicken. Chicken is nice and cooked, full of flavour. Not quite the same as your Indian, you know, takeaway or Indian restaurant biryani, but then remember, this is a heart healthy version. Okay, low in sort of Weight Watchers point, things like that, but still full of flavour. Fully complemented by the whiskey. Oh, I didn't have a mushroom. Just a mushroom. But there you go. That was our baked biryani with chicken and rice. Yummy. Give it a go. And of course, because today's National Whiskey Day, not the day you see this, but you can always pretend it is third Saturday in the month of May. Treat yourself to a whiskey.